Friday, January 30th when I'm recording this video. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. It's been a few weeks since I posted a video. Just been busy with work and been getting hammered with snow all this week. So yeah, just haven't really had the time to get anything done, put together for you. But hey, I'm gonna do a little talk today, I guess. I got a few points written down here that I just want to talk about. For starters, I'm going to give you just a few items that I like to keep in my truck or in my pack. Probably some that you have, and probably some overlooked items that you never really thought of that hopefully you'll be putting in your pack this next year. Then we'll just go over a few different things that I'd like to get started early in the year. I mean, it's almost February. The way I look at it is we got about 6 weeks until the weather really starts clearing up around this area. So hopefully, we've just gotten so much snow I haven't been able to get outside and do anything. I mean, we've just got done getting 3 feet of snow in the last week. It's just been terrible. So hopefully here, once the weather starts to turn the other way, middle of March, can start getting outside, getting some projects done and getting a few things going. So yeah, we're just gonna talk about a few things today and hang out and drink a beer, and yeah. So here we go. So the first item that I would always recommend any deer hunter to keep in their pack is zip ties. Sometimes I like to keep the short little, like 4-inch maybe ones, but you know, right now I've got maybe 1,000 of the 6 or 8-inch ones in my garage, so I keep those in my pack. But even the little 4-inch ones that you can buy, just the cheap ones. If you buy like 100 pack and throw them in the bottom of your backpack, you'll forget they're there until you need them. And just great to have, whether you need to tag a deer or say you got to fix something. You got a stand that's a little loose, rattly, making some noise. You've got or tearing a blind or something like that. You need to hold something together. They're just good in case of an emergency or just in any old regular situation that you might need. It's a cheap insurance thing that you can buy, or run to Walmart, pick up a cheap pack of just, you know, whatever brand and throw them in there and forget about them. So that's just a good idea for you to pick up for next year. The next thing I really recommend you keep in your pack is you always got to have a headlamp. And I think that most people nowadays probably are carrying a headlamp. Don't get me wrong, a lot of my buddies still roam through the woods with just their cell phones and using the phones in their light, which I get it, it works in a pinch, but it really kills the battery on your phone. And I look at your cell phone when you're in the woods as an emergency thing. You never know if something happens and you need to call someone. The last thing that you need is your phone to be dead, because you'll be in trouble quick. So just try to save that battery as much as possible. Don't use it. I mean, obviously, if it's at the end of the night, you don't feel like digging through your backpack to get your headlamp out and you're walking out and it's just an easy walk, yeah, throw the flashlight on your cell phone. But you know, when you shoot a deer and you need to go blood trail it, it really helps to have a headlamp. And then I'd also recommend putting a spare flashlight in your backpack, just a regular old push button flashlight, whether it's like a mag light, like a mini mag or something like that. You can go to Walmart nowadays and for $20-25 you can pick up a really good, really bright flashlight. And I think especially when you're blood trailing a deer, that's good to have your headlamp so you can see where you're walking, but have the flashlight, you can get right down on the ground and see what you're looking at. Like I said with the zip ties, it's just something you throw in. I mean, if you've got a good backpack, a good tight weed backpack like I talked about before, if you got a good backpack, you'll have a ton of pockets. You just throw it in one of the pockets, you forget about it until you need it. So I think it's just something really good to keep in your bag. The next thing you got to keep, and this is like a necessity for me, I buy a new one every year, they're cheap. It's one of those wind checkers, just like a powder puffer. I normally get the dead downwind one, the orange ones. I like those just because if you drop them, they're easy to find. I know they make white ones in different brands. I'm partial to the dead downwind. Just need the small one, and I like to keep it on somewhere on my belt part of my backpack. I have the big Tidewee backpack that I carry, and I keep it right here. That way, as I'm walking in, I can pull it out and check the wind before I get to my stand. You know, pretty much once I get within 200 yards of my tree stand, I'm checking the wind every 20 to 50 yards as I'm walking in, just kind of giving it a puff, making sure I'm checking the wind. I might stand there for 2 or 3 minutes and check the wind 2 or 3 different times in those few minutes. And I'm just trying to make sure it's not swirling, it's not blowing the wrong way. Really just helps you get an idea of what's going on with the wind. And, if you need to make a game plan change, I know a lot of people say if they get up in the stand, the wind's wrong, they'll get down and completely move. And I'm sure there's probably some science and truth to that, but I've kind of always been, once I'm in the stand, I feel like I'm doing almost as much damage by getting out as I am just letting my wind blow. I mean, obviously, if your wind is blowing directly to if the wind's 180 degrees opposite of where it's supposed to be, I mean, you probably should get down and get a different stand. But if it's marginal, I always like to ride it, and you never know. So sometimes, I'm not saying you can fool a deer, but sometimes you can just get lucky. So, yeah, I just like to keep that in my bag. It's something small and easy, and really anybody that's deer hunting should have a wind checker. A lot of people carry milkweed. I like that, and I have some, but I find that the powder puffer is just as easy to whip out and quick puff off to the side, and you can keep walking. So pick up one of those this year. And I'm probably going to lose some of you on this last one. And being in that I'm in the industrial mechanics field, pretty much my hands are permanently stained black in some portions of my fingertips, and I come home dirty and filthy just about every day. One of my industrial mechanic friends that I worked with a few years ago gave me a little tip, and I kind of passed it on into my deer hunting and everything else. I like to keep a pack of makeup wipes in my truck. And I know, don't ask me why, I'm not removing my makeup or anything like that. I don't use it for anything special. But just like a cheap pack of makeup wipes, you can probably get like the Walmart brand. I do a lot of shopping at Aldi's, so as I'm walking through the Aldi's aisle that has it, I normally grab 2 or 3 packs. They're like $3, $4, $5. I throw them in the cart, and I'll keep one in my truck for sure all hunting season. And I'll tell you what, that there's nothing that you can't take off with those. Like I said, I'm industrial mechanics, and most of the year I have a pack of those either in my desk at work or in my truck. This time of the year they freeze, so I keep them in my desk, but they'll take off the thickest, nastiest grease, slime, sludge, mud. You can clean yourself, you get dirty, anything like that. And then what I've found they're really useful for is if you shoot a deer and you got to gut it. I mean, yeah, some people like to go in the grocery store after to get their beer or whatever they need, or say you're up at your hunting camp like mine where we don't have running water, and it's kind of hard to get that blood off your skin when you don't really have good running warm water. Those makeup removing wipes will take it right off. Now, I will say a secondary choice for me, baby wipes. Most of the time I have a pack of baby wipes in my truck too, just in case, nature calls and I got to use them. But I think the makeup wipes work better for like removing blood, removing oil and stuff like that off your skin. And yeah, I think that anybody who's smart and that's a deer hunter should keep a pack of either of those, but I always have the makeup wipes, and hey, if nature calls, I could probably use one of those as a wipe if I had to. But yeah, pick up a pack of those from Walmart or Aldi's or wherever, tell your wife, hey, next time you go to the store, pick up a cheap brand. You don't need the expensive ones. We don't, we're deer hunters here. We don't have sensitive skin. You just pick up the cheap pack and throw it in there and you're good to go. But yeah, pick up a pack of those and you'll be surprised at how nice it is to have when you're done gutting a deer or something like that. And you can, get your hands nice and clean before you jump in your truck or something like that. You don't get blood all over your steering wheel of your nice truck or whatever. Who knows? Maybe you like that, but I like to be clean when I get in my truck. So yeah, pick up a pack of those. All right, so those are the 4 items that I think that you should keep with you or pick up for this upcoming hunting season. So now I'm just going to talk about a few things that I've got coming up. Like I said, there's about 6 weeks left in winter, so I'm starting to brainstorm some ideas for food plots and and what I'm going to do out behind the house, what I'm going to do up at camp. Probably at some point here, I'll be getting with Ryan here in the next few weeks, and we'll discuss what we're going to do for everybody's food plots for up at camp. We'll see what happens, but I know, like I said in my other video, I got to get up early and get my food plots that are going to be my annual food plots sprayed with some Roundup. So we'll get those sprayed, and I'm going to try to do a light dose of Roundup over some of our clover that's a year or two old. I have one clover food plot up at my camp that it used to be really thick, and it's kind of gotten overtaken with grass. I could buy clethodim, but I found just as well off. I'm just as well off if I take a light dose of Roundup and run it over the top of it early in the spring. End of April, beginning of May, when it's really growing hot and heavy. Just a light dose of Roundup. It'll knock it back for a little bit, but it'll come back stronger than ever. So I'll probably do that. And then while we're up there doing that, I'll also be deploying some cameras, probably here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I might put some cameras out back behind the house. We'll just have to see what the weather is. Like I said, we just got done getting about 3 feet in the course of about a week. So I can tell you, I'm not going to go trudging through that right now. So if we get a little bit of a warm up here in the next month, I'll probably take the hike out there, or if the snow becomes nice and crusty and I can walk across it, I'll probably take the hike out there and see what's going on. But yeah, poor deer right now, we've got so much snow. So that leads me into my next thing, is that I've got a lot of habitat work I need to do out back. I really don't know where to start. I've tried multiple things over the years, and the deer hunting has gotten better behind my house. I mean, progressively, I've seen more and more deer each season. But I mean, I went from seeing 0 deer for 2 or 3 years to seeing maybe 2 or 3 deer last year. This one year I saw like 4 or 5, and then this past year I saw 1 deer, and that was it. So yeah, it's just I got to do something to try to get the deer bedding on my property. Right now, I just had my one little food plot, and I think it was probably hot and heavy, considering that it was clover early in the year. But yeah, late season, it wasn't doing anything. So I'm just gonna have to go back to the drawing board, see what I can do. I don't want to do a ton of cutting. It's not technically my property. It's my aunt's and what was my father's, now my mother's property. So I don't want to do a ton of cutting trees down to try to make bedding areas. Maybe do some hack and squirt or something like that, or girdle and spray and see what happens. But yeah, I know I need to get into like the swamps and open up some trails and stuff like that, clear out areas for bedding, and a few different projects that I'd like to get to, like late winter, well, before the bugs and everything comes out and before the ground really thaws. I can get in there when it's frozen, but once it gets thawed out, especially in the springtime, I can't get in there. It'll get real mucky and soupy, and then it dries out later in the summer. But by that point, it's so buggy, I don't want to be back in there. So, and then last but not least is scouting. Probably here sometime the end of February, Ryan and I will get up to camp and do a walk around. I know that he went up a week or 2 ago and walked in the back way to camp down the trail. So he saw some deer sign and stuff like that, but it was a real tough walking even with snowshoes. Yeah, he was heading into camp, sinking 3-4 inches the whole time. So I'd like to be able to get up there when the snow gets a little crusty. We're going to get a little bit of a warm up here next week. It's going to get into the 30s. So hopefully if we get some more cold weather, that'll compact some of the snow, make it nice and crunchy. We can go up there and at least walk around. I wouldn't say shed hunt because we've got so much snow up there. There's no way we'll find anything, but probably just walk around, see what the trails look like from the winter. You can always find where those major deer runs are. They use the same trails all winter. Once one's broken, they just continuously use it, so you'll be able to see it. Maybe take a camera up and put one on one of those trails and see what we're seeing. I mean, you won't have antlers or anything like that on the deer for another couple of months, but at least see what kind of numbers we're looking at. So yeah, that's the game plan right now for 2026. really just gotta get up to camp and get some things done this year and get out back and get a few projects done out back and see where we go. There's only one place to go but up from here. I think anything that we do, like I said, we had a tough year this year with not doing very much with food plots and just having limited time between me and Ryan, both having kids this year. So hopefully this next summer we can, make the most out of the time that we do have and get up and get some projects done. So, all right, stay tuned. I'm hoping to get another video out next week. We'll see. But until then, stay warm and stay tuned.